All right, here's the third and final part to the review. We're going to be doing the graphing. Now, when I make my t-charts, you guys, some of you aren't doing it quite the same way I'm doing this. I will be leaving out H and K from every t-chart, and I will use the H and K when I do my shifting of points. So starting with 25, B is 3. Since it's bigger than 1, that means I'm going to have a growth shape. A is 1, which is my y-intercept. And so what I'm going to do is go over to my t-chart. I will be leaving out the +2 in my t-chart. I will only be using the 3 to the x. So my y-intercept of me choosing x to be 0, 3 to the 0 power is 1. That's why that y-intercept works. My left-right number is what's going to turn the exponent into 0. -2 will do that. And my up-down number is what's added on to the exponent itself. So nothing's there, so it's 0, which is now my wall. So I'm going to draw that in there. And since it's growth, my other 2 points I'm going to choose are 1 and 2. So 3 to the first power is 3, 3 to the second power is 9. I graph these points first. And now I will address the +2. So for me, everything is going to go left 2 because of that. And then I can draw in my growth shape. And when I draw this in, I only connect the points after I've shifted them. So even though you see 2 sets of points, only graph the points that you've shifted. All right, number 2, A is 2, B is 1/4. Since B is less than 1, I'll have a decay shape. My y-intercept is A. And now going to the t-chart, I will leave out the +2 -5. So my t-chart will include this. So that's why when I make x become 0, because that's the y-intercept, 1/4 to the 0 power, anything to a 0 power is 1. And then I'll take that 1 times 2, and I'll get the 2. As for the other numbers, the left-right, -2 will turn my exponent into 0, and -5 is added on at the end, which is also my wall. And now I'm going to finish my t-chart. So I'm going to do some writing. I will be erasing this though. So when I put -1 in, what that -1 does is flip the 1/4 into 4. The 1 is gone. So I'll take 4 to the first power, which is 4, and 4 times 2 and get 8. And then when I use -2, again, what the -2 is going to do is flip the 1/4 into 4. It'll become 4 squared, which is 16, and 16 times 2 is 32, which won't fit on my graph, but you can see how the points are going to work. So here is 0, 2, -1, 8, and again, the -2, 32 is not going to be on there. Now, I have not dealt with the -2 and -5, so now I will. Every point is going to go left 2 and down 5. And then I can do my decay shape. A little better than that, but you guys get the idea. All right, I'm going to erase this now. All right, so on 27, 27 and bringing E in, and that's my B. B is also what tells me if it's growth or decay. So that's why on these problems I have an R, because R is going to tell me if it's going to stay growth or decay. All right, I had to pause for a second. So I was talking about B, and B being this E, this 2.7 number. So the only way to tell if it's growth or decay is R. And R is what's multiplied in your exponent. And if it's positive, it's growth. If it's negative, it's decay. So there's a +2 being multiplied to my exponent. Since that's positive, that's going to make it e to the second power, which is definitely going to be bigger than 1. So I will have a growth shape. And now as far as my left-right number, what will turn the 2x into 0? 0. And my up-down number is -3, which is my wall. A is 3. And for my t-chart now, I will use 3e to the 2x. So I include the 2 in this when I'm doing that. And so when I make my t-chart, I'll include that as well. So I'm going to write this out, but I'll erase it. So 0, when I put 0 in, what happens is this 2 times 0 is 0, and anything to a 0 power is 1, and 1 times 3 is 3. So that's why this y-intercept over here of 3 works. Now I'm going to put 1 in. So 2 times 1 is 2. E to the second power is about 7.4. And when I take that 7.4 number times 3, I get 22.2. And then for 2, so I will have 2 times 2, which is 4. 4 times E is a number. When I take that times 3, I end up with 163.4, which definitely won't fit my graph, but that's okay. So I'm going to erase this so I can actually graph my points. And now I have 0, 3. I know the 122.2 won't fit, but just realize it's going to be really high up, so I'm just going to put a little mark there. And now all my points are going to shift. Everything is going to come down 3. And even this, coming down 3, it'll still be about not even close to where I put it. So I will do my growth shape now. So it coasts, and then it turns and goes straight up. So you really have to know the shapes in order to do this graphing. All right, let's move to 28. So on 28, B looks like -4, but B can never be a negative number. So if it looks negative, there's just a -1 in front of it. I don't need the R. So my y-intercept is going to be coming from the fact that when I make my t-chart, again, I'm leaving out the h and k, the 3 and the -1. So when I say my y-intercept is -1, the reason why that works is in a y-intercept, x is 0. And 4 to the 0 power is 1, and 1 times -1 is -1. So that's why that happens. As far as my left-right number, -3 turns my exponent into 0. -1 is what's added on to the end, which is my wall. And now I'm going to finish my t-chart. This is growth. It's just what's going to happen is where this is the traditional growth shape, because A is -1, it's going to flip. So that's my actual shape of this graph. All right, finishing my t-chart. Since it's growth, I'm going to put 1 and 2 in. So 4 to the first is 4. 4 times -1 is -4. And then I'm going to do this again, but with 2. 4 squared is 16. 16 times -1 is -16. So I'm going to put those points on there now. Erase this. And I have 0, -1, 1, -4. Oops, sorry, I didn't put it at 0, -1. 0, -1, 1, -4, and then 2, -16, would be way down here. But now I'm going to adjust all my points. Everything's going to go left 3 and down 1. And this left 3 over here, down 1, you could try to estimate where it would be. But now I'm going to do the coasting, and then instead of going up, it's going to flip and go down. All right, 29. 29, B is 1/2, A is 1. So when I make my t-chart, I will be leaving out the -1, -5. This will be my t-chart. So when I'm picking a y-intercept of 0, I'm saying 1/2 to the 0 power, which is 1. So that's why that works. My left-right number, 1 turns my exponent into 0. -5 is what's added on, and that's my wall. And now I'm going to finish my t-chart. So since it's decay, and I know it's decayed because B is less than 1, I know to use the negative numbers. So what happens when you put -1 in, again, the -1 is going to flip 1/2 into 2, becomes 2 to the first, which is 2. And when I do this with -2, again, the negative flips it, becomes 2 squared, which is 4. So those are the points I'm going to graph. And here's 0, 1, here's -1, 2, here's -2, 4. And now I'm going to shift everything to the right once and down 5. And now because I know that decay shape, it drops really fast and then it coasts. All right, and my final problem. So in this problem, B is E, A is a half. So how do I know it's growth? Because in this exponent right here, this x is not negative. That's really an e to the negative 1 times x. So that r being here makes this e become 1 over e, or 1 over 2.7, and that's less than 1. So that's why I'll be choosing decay when I pick my points, okay? All right, my left-right number is 0 because that is what turns the exponent into 0. My up-down number is 1, so is my wall. And when I make my t-chart, this is what I will be using for my t-chart. So 0, this is what happens when you put 0 in. This is why the y-intercept is whatever a is. Because if I take 1/2 times e and negative 1 and I make the x 0, what's going to happen is this exponent becomes 0. E to the 0 is 1, and 1/2 times 1 is a half. When I do this, and I'll be erasing here, when I put 1 in, I'm sorry, negative 1 in because it's decay, what happens is this exponent, negative 1 times negative 1, becomes 1. So I'll be taking e to the first power, which is 2.7, and when I take that times a half, I get about 1.4. And then I'm going to do this again, but this time I'm going to put negative 3 in. And again, negative 1 and negative 3 is 3. So I'll be taking e to the third power, which is, I'm sorry, I put a negative 3. I should be putting negative 2 in, so e squared. E to the second power is like 7 point something, and when I take that times a half, I get roughly 3.7. So those are the points I'm going to graph. So I'm going to erase this stuff so I can get my graph. And now I have 0, 1/2, negative 1, oh, let's say 1.5, and negative 2, I'll make it like 4. But now everything's going to shift. Everything is going to go up 1. And then I can do my decay shape. All right. So the biggest problem between your graphs and my graphs, and why you guys are getting some of the graphs right and some of the graph wrong, is because a lot of you, when you make your t-chart, sometimes you use all of this, but sometimes you only use this part. So you shift some points and then you don't shift some points, and so your graph isn't quite right. So decide what you're going to do on your t-chart. Either use all of it. So for instance, if you look at number 28, either use all of this in your t-chart when you're, and then plug in 0, 1, and 2, or do what I did. So you're going to have to figure out what works best for you. My suggestion is have as little in your t-chart as possible, and then deal with this left, right, up, down number. Okay? So leave out H and K when you graph. That's it. See you later.